we can share it with other attendees throughout the show. Today's speaker is Kim Hofman, whose topic is on great customer service. Just a little bit about Kim. Kim draws on her extensive real-world experience to deliver programs that give participants practical knowledge in today's fast-paced environment. She has over 25 years of experience in training, management, cost control, sales, customer service, and has been involved with developing companies from startup operations to running multi-million-dollar businesses. And just as a couple of ground rules, I'm going to transfer over to Kim the presentation so you can see her presentation. But I'm also going to mute the sound, so if you have any questions, you are welcome to click on this link up here for chat and post your question to us. And then when she's completed her presentation, we'll be happy to ask you to ask your question, and I'm sure Kim will be delighted to answer your question at that time. So with that, I'm going to change over to pass the presentation on to Kim.
I get the baton.
She gets the baton. So with that, actually, Kim, I forgot to do the mute, so you're going to have to mute the sound if you would.
Is that star 3950 pound?
Nope. There's a pull down that will mute the sound when you look at the telephone. Okay, I'm clicking on you. Actually, I'm going to mute it. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. You now have the presentation. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Am I in mute? It says unmute everybody, so everybody should be muted, right?
Yes. And we're recording. So
okay.
It's all yours.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Great Customer Service. My name's Kim Hofman, and I'm going to be the presenter for this session. Today we're going to talk about great customer service. What comes to your mind when you think of great customer service? Do you think of a certain person? How about any companies? If so, take a few seconds and write down names of any person or companies that you think exemplifies great customer service. And to give you an example, when I think of great customer service, the first thing I usually think of is Disney. I mean, to make your experience a magical experience, they've really set that bar pretty high. But there's also many companies that offer great customer service. I kind of think of FedEx, UPS as examples. So again, I'd like to start by thinking of when we have experienced great customer service. No matter what position you're in, giving great customer service is an integral part of your position, and it's critical to your success to master the skills needed to give great customer service. Customer service is really easy if you happen to like the customer. The customer's friendly, they want to work with you, they're conscious, they even hear what you're saying. You don't need an in-service about customer service to really deal with those customers. But how do you handle the customer even when you don't want to, even when you're not in the mood, even when you don't like them, and even when they're not correct? That's what this in-service is about. It's about dealing with all types of customers, especially the ones that are a little difficult for you. I'd like to start by talking about some of the advantages of giving great customer service. And first and foremost, when you give great service, you experience being at your best. When you deliver great customer service, the person who receives the most is really you because, again, you're being the best you can be. The second is you're not at the mercy of your customers. It doesn't matter if your customers deserve great customer service or not. By choosing to give it to them anyway, you're in control of how you feel. And this one I thought was pretty important because often we decide what level of customer service we give if we feel that the customer deserves great service, or if they're being a pain, we often change how we may relate to that customer. And we're going to talk about that a little further into this presentation. Number 3, your life becomes easier, more meaningful, and more fun. When you feed the positive energy within you, it grows in all other aspects of your life, and positive energy attracts positive energy. The reverse is also true. When you're a negative Nelly, how do you think people treat you? You often get that same negativity back. And people notice that you do a great job in customer service, and you become an asset to your school, your business, your company, and not a liability. If you change your attitude, your whole world is filled with new opportunities. Great service. That's what great service is all about, serving yourself a great life. So when we start talking about customer service, the first thing we need to do is define the customer. And I've loved this definition I found. Your customer is anyone who isn't you. And that, I think that is extremely important because we often think of the customer as just the actual person that may have the transaction with us. But really, your customer is who does your work go to and who's your work important to. Those are all your customers. Your customer is whoever benefits from the work you do or suffers when your work is done poorly or not at all. So take a few seconds and start thinking of your customers. Who are your customers? Again, it's who your work is important to. So students is because we're all in school food service, students are definitely our customers, but we have a lot of other customers. What about the staff? What about teachers? What about all the aides? What about the administrators? What about parents? What about media? What about the custodians? These are all our customers. Our work is important to all of these people. And we have a tendency to forget that we mainly think of just the students as our customers. What issues or problems do you have serving your customers? What can you do to solve them? And I like this because now that we've expanded our definition of customer, and a customer is anyone who our work affects, what problems do you have when it comes to customer service? Just take a few seconds and jot down some of the issues you might be having. It may be a certain cook. It might be a custodian. It may be a quote-unquote unconscious principal. It might be the media that is not, when they report on school lunch, it's always negative. It might be an elementary school teacher that is making kind of offhanded comments on the school lunch program. These, again, are all of our customers, and they're all problems that we could have. So take a few seconds and just jot that down. And when you jot it down, too, jot down if you have any ideas as to what you can do to solve those problems. Think about, what do you do when a student complains about the meal? How do you handle that? What do you do when a teacher doesn't buy a school lunch? Now, that one may sound a little puzzling, but I've been a consultant and I've worked in school lunch for really closer to 30 years. I think really 31 right now. Teachers are very important customers in our school lunch program. And often if teachers are, especially in the elementary schools, are not participating, indirectly they can have an effect on the students and if they're going to participate. So when teachers don't buy a school lunch, that may have an indirect impression on the students. What do you do when a student forgets? Are you impatient? Do you help prompt them? I mean, it is now February. What do you do when a student doesn't have their money ready? I've seen so many cashiers, just roll their eyes. How do you handle situations like that? How do you make the student not feel quote unquote stupid, but yet keep that line moving, because getting those kids through is an important part of our job? What do you do when a staff member makes a snarly comment about the meals? Again, all these people are customers, and how we respond to them, what kind of service we give to them, is critical to our success. We have internal and external customers. It's almost impossible to provide good external customer service if your organization is not providing good internal customer service. And think about it. Think about even, not even so much in the school lunch, but when you go to a store or a restaurant, and if you can feel the dissension that the staff isn't getting along, do you think that that affects the service that you're getting? It does. So you need to have good internal service and make sure that everybody is working together to provide good external customer service. Now tell me a little bit about some of your customers. Think about your most difficult customer. And again, that could be internal or external. It could be one of your cooks. It could be a student. It could be a principal. It could be an administrator. But again, think of your most difficult customer. And take a second and describe in words what makes this customer difficult. Why is that person difficult to you? Is it what they say? Do they roll their eyes? Is it that they're demanding? Do they talk down to you? Again, write down what makes that customer difficult. Now, again, thinking about this most difficult customer, what can you change? What can you do to give this customer great service? Easier said than done, because as I said in the beginning, the customers that are pleasant and polite, they're the easy ones. But it's the customers that are difficult that we really need to work on, and we really need to work on our attitude, because it all basically comes down to that. If we can change our attitude on how we treat these customers and how we think about them, that customer will often change their attitude toward us. You need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I often find that we are the mirror image. If a customer is difficult, then we often give them difficult back. I like the quote that I read in a book called Super Service. It said, we often get so bored in dealing with customers that our mind goes off somewhere else. And when we do that, we stop being with the customer. That is when words that we later regret tumble out of our mouth and we create a situation. And if we serve people the way we wanted to be served, we wouldn't have this situation. And that's where it starts to get interesting, that word serve. Because some people think serve is a nasty word. But that is the crux of customer service. It's customer service. Are you the best at customer service that you can be? Why or why not? This is an important question to ask yourself And it's also an important question that you want your staff to be able to ask themselves and to be able to answer. And it's funny, I've done a lot of these in services throughout the country, and I've heard over and over again when I've had people write down these responses, one of the responses I hear is, I'm not paid enough to be nice to these customers. Now, can you think of anything a little more ridiculous than that? It has nothing to do with how much money that you're being paid. We are here, and this is our position, and is to serve our customers. It's everybody's position. And as I said, when you have an attitude like that, it reflects back to that customer. So here's some rules of customer service. Rule number 1, make the customer feel heard. If they are saying comment on the lunch program, if they're even talking to you, make sure that they feel heard. Make them feel understood. Make the customer feel liked. Make the customer feel respected. Make the customer feel helped. Make the customer feel appreciated. Now put yourself as a customer. It could be at a clothing store. What irritates you about customer service and what makes you feel good? And I bet you want to be heard. You don't want people there talking on their phone or talking among each other and making you feel invisible. You want to be understood. If you're looking for something, you want them to help you. You want to feel liked. You don't want to feel like you're a pain in the neck to them or just a bother. And I've seen that a lot of times when I've worked with clients and some of the staff, they feel like, hey, I'm paid this much an hour whether I wait on you or not. So I could care less. Make the customer feel respected. Make the customer feel helped. Again, these are all things that you want, and you want to feel appreciated. Another secret on great customer service is to offer great customer service, you have to be a great customer. What kind of customer are you? If you're a rotten customer, and if you demand things as a customer and give little as a server, you're going to get demands and little else. I was at a restaurant, and I was with a group of people, and the service was pretty slow and not the best. And one of the people I was with whistled to try to get the waitress's attention. Can I advise you that's not a good way of getting a waitress's attention? But and when she came over to the table, you could tell she was pretty much not very happy with that person. Any ideas? You all work in food service. What might happen to that person's food that was whistling for that waitress? I think there's even been movies on that one. But if you're very demanding, do you get the best customer service? You might begrudgingly get service, but are you getting the best service? Nope. Again, usually we are a mirror, and usually you don't get what you want. Respect and goodwill are reciprocal. People have a tendency to return in kind the treatment they receive from others. What do you get back when you turn a bored or expressionless face to the checkout person? Do they often give you that same look back? I love this picture. What kind of response do you think you're going to get back if you look like that? Do you think that customer, especially our students, wants to go through a lunch line with a cashier like that? No, often they'll rather just pack their lunch. Respect and goodwill are reciprocal. Today, this phenomena is known as psychological reciprocity. In earlier times, it was known as do unto others principle. That's that do unto others, that you would have others do unto you. And that's One of the basic rules of customer service is treat other people the way that you want to be treated. Customer service, to serve feels good and gets the job done. If we serve, we both win. Serving is about giving instead of taking. And the bottom line is you're going to feel better about yourself and your job if you do a good job serving your customers. Serve is to be of assistance, to help. That's the definition. Now, here is a real good question to ask yourself. Would you like to do business with you? If you were on the other side, if you were a staff working with you, a principal, even in the store, would you like to do business with you? Why or why not? Customers don't know how you get things done, don't know your area of responsibilities, don't know your job description, don't know what you personally can or cannot do for them, and they don't care. They don't care your workload. They don't care. I'm in Ohio right now. If there was 6 inches of snow, customers, all those things are your business, and they're not theirs. Customers expect you to make the organization work for them, to understand the big picture, to be able to answer their questions, to solve their problems, and refer them to the right people. Whether customers' feelings are good or bad often relates directly to their experience with you and the way you help them meet their needs. To them, you are the company, you are the school, you are the food service department. Those of you, the elementary students, they're cooks in that cafeteria. To them, that is the food service department. So it works to individual relationships with everybody. So you need to remember that you are the company. You are reflecting the entire food service department. And in a greater sense, you're reflecting school lunch to everybody that you come across. The other thing you need to remember is if you don't have customers, you don't have a job. Really, the people that we need to answer to are our customers because they're the ones who really write your paycheck. And in schools, it's those that come through our lunch line. Those are our customers. And if we don't have customers, what happens to our job? It's gone. In fact, I work a lot with consulting with schools, and one of the first things, most of the operations I work with have issues, of course, because that's why they call me. And when I look at labor, they usually, and look at the meals per labor hour and look at their staffing, on paper, the first thing I usually see is most of the schools are overstaffed. But my first response is never to just cut labor. I want to increase revenue. Because if I can increase revenue and get more customers in, we can often keep that labor. I want to keep everybody employed. But it's a team effort. They need to realize how important their customers are. Your staff needs to. At one of the schools I worked with, we had a cook that everybody nicknamed Sarge because she was like a Marine sergeant. Even the teachers were scared of Sarge. I mean, to even ask Sarge for change, she would bite your neck off. And does anybody have any idea what the participation levels were at that school? They were really low. And this is in comparison if you look at the same number of free and reduced meals, same basic attendance, same food, same recipes, etc. But Sarge made a difference, and unfortunately in that case it was a negative experience. Did you know that it costs between 5 and 6 times more to attract a new customer than to keep an existing one. Now think about that. How hard is it? Okay, it's mid-February. How hard is it to get new students in to purchase the lunch? What do you need to do? I worked with one school that was their participation at their high school was horrible, and we started changing the menu, and still we were getting the middle school and the elementary school's participation up, but could not get that high school participation to budge. In fact, most of the kids packed their lunches. And I then went in to talk to student council, and I was having them sample some products, and I wanted to, do surveys with them and sound them out. And what I found, there was probably 25 people in that meeting. Only 2 of those people, of those students, participated in the lunch program. And out of those 25 people, only 4 had gone through the lunch line in their entire time during high school. It was like the cafeteria was like if you went through the lunch line, you must either be desperate or on free or reduced meals, which is not what you want to have your lunch in the food service operation perceived as. So remember, it costs a lot of money to get new customers in, and it's a lot easier to keep the ones that are currently there coming through your line. A 2% increase in customer retention has the same effect on profits as cutting costs by 10%. And that point's very interesting, too, because so many people, especially in this time where budgets are very tight, finances are tight, they cut cost. And in fact, I'm doing a seminar in a couple of days on controlling your cost in the food service operation for CSI. But what I talk about is controlling cost, not cutting cost. Because often when you cut cost, the first things that go are often is the food and the quality or the staff. And I would much rather put the energy into keeping the labor the same, keeping the quality of the food high, and work on getting more customers through that door. Companies can boost their profits anywhere from 24 to 125% by merely retaining 5% more of their existing customers. Again, the emphasis is on keeping the customers and keeping them satisfied. And finally, and this was a book from the book called Exceptional Customer Service, 2/3 of the customers do not feel valued by those serving them. What do you think your students think of you and of the food service operation? Do you make them feel valued? Do you make them feel welcome? When I was a school food service director, I remembered having an employee that had a horrible temper. And I said, look, you can take out your temper and you can be angry and upset, pots and hands. But when you are serving those kids, they are your priority. When those children are coming through the serving line, you need to make eye contact with them. You need to smile. You need to make them feel important. And because everybody wants to feel important. Organizations that focus on superior customer service turned out to be all around better, more successful companies than those that treated customers like the enemy and customer service as either a grudging afterthought or a necessary evil. Now think about that. And most of you that are on the line have several schools in your district that you're working with. What makes one school more successful than the other? If you've got the same food and the same menu, what makes one more successful than the other? Is there certain schools you like to go to? Is there certain schools you don't like to visit? And the question you need to ask yourself is why? And often it boils down to service and even the employees that are there. Um, you can make you can spruce up at the cafeteria, and that helps, and it helps make it a more pleasant place to be. But bottom line is, it's those that are serving our customers that makes all the difference. Serve means to be of assistance. Most of us want to help, but only if we're in the mood, we like the person, or if we feel serving will advance our cause in some way. And this is from a book called Super Service. The secret weapon to fighting that attitude is to wake up. Did you know that people who enjoy their work the most provide the best customer service? And think about that. If you're happy with your work and you like what you're doing, that's reflected on how you treat other people. And if you don't like your job, that also is reflected on how you often treat the customer. We are often the mirror image of others' behavior. And by that, if somebody is cranky to you or surly, what's our natural tendency? Yeah, it's to get surly back with them. And that's where we need to wake up. We need to be in control of the situation, and we need to be in control of our behavior. Waking up means asking yourself, what if I change my attitude for just a second and give that person a break? Often we're afraid if we give them an inch, they'll take a mile, especially when it comes to students. A survey by HR Easy of these are customer service professionals. The survey found that 41% disagreed with the statement that the customer is always right. 25% said it was hard to keep a positive attitude when dealing with customers. 20% felt that most customers were too demanding. And this was the line that really got me. 15% said that dealing with customers gets in the way of getting their job done. Now think about that. Think about what that's saying. And think about how many times that's happened to you, where somebody is busy folding clothes, and instead of waiting on you, which is you as the customer, they're busy getting that done, or filling out paperwork, or filling out forms. How many times do you get irritated when the phone rings and because you're trying to get a report done? Again, 15% of these customer service professionals said that dealing with customers gets in the way of getting their job done. Now think back several slides. Who pays your paycheck? You're right, it's the customers. I don't know if you've heard of the term moments of truth, but moments of truth is often discussed when you're talking about customer service. And any interaction that creates negative or positive impression in the minds of your customers is a moment of truth. Anything and everything can be a moment of truth. How long it takes for the students to go through the lunch line is a moment of truth. The eye contact or lack of it is a moment of truth. Knowing the students' names, greeting them personally, the sounds, the scents, the color, the noise, all those are moments of truth, and they can make or break what people think of you and your operation. Every time you're in contact with a student, a teacher, staff, any of your customers, you have an opportunity and a choice. Every time you come in contact with a student or staff, you need to ask yourself, are you creating a frequent, lasting, memorable impression? What choices are you making? Are you choosing to give that customer the best and the best service possible? So name it. Right? Take some time and think about what kind of an effect, what kind of choices you're making, and what kind of an impression you think your students have, and teachers and staff, of the lunch program And I bet you it's probably different per school. And those are the schools you need to jot down too and make a real effort to have them realize the importance of each and every customer that comes through the line. Now, great customer service is simple, but it's not easy. It's like driving to California, well, especially from Ohio. Those of you in California maybe just since you're there, that's real simple. But from Ohio, it's simple. Yeah, you just go west, but it's not always easy. And one of the things that I want you to remember about customer service, it's not a one-time experience, but it's a consistent program. It's like working out. If you work out one day a month, you do weights one day a month, is that going to do you much good? Probably not. You're going to be sore, but is that really going to have that much effect on your health? No. In order to have exercise benefit you, you need to do it consistently. You need to work out every other day. You need to pay attention to your diet and what you put in your mouth. And if you just do it once a week, it's probably not going to benefit you much. I've seen companies that put up banners, we care about our customers. But if they don't have the consistent practice behind that, is that banner going to benefit them much? Probably not. They said customer service is like a fitness program. It doesn't just happen. It takes time, repetition, a consistent message, and consistent reinforcement for it to happen. Do you have a customer service program in your schools? When you have meetings with your cooks, is customer service emphasized at every single meeting? Or is it just a once-a-year mention? So what are the most important impressions customers form? In 7 seconds of contact, a customer forms 11 impressions about you and your organization. This is in 7 seconds. And I think this is very true in so many different ways. I've done a lot of work also in long-term care, and for a while there I was in sales to long-term care. And often they would forget, most of the long-term care facilities forgot that I was a potential customer. Didn't even think of me that way. In their mind, I was a salesperson, which is, one level below a pole dancer. I don't know. Most people didn't think too highly of salespeople. So when I would go in, they would say, "Oh, the kitchen's down there and to your left," and a lot of times they would leave it up to me to find my way to the kitchen. And often I'd end up sitting there for a while, or sitting outside the hall. And do you think I made some impressions of these nursing homes and these facilities? And what these people did not realize was at that time I was looking for a facility for my mom who has Alzheimer's. So when I was going in these homes, yes, I was there with the main purpose of selling. I worked with a major food vendor. But secondary, I was checking out these homes. And I was, how fast were they answering the bell? How are the staff treating each other? How are they treating me? And it had a huge bearing on my impression of that facility. And what was also so interesting was because all my friends and my acquaintances knew that I was working in long-term care, and I'm about at that age where most of my friends' families are starting to need long-term care. Do you think they believed me or the marketing department as to how those facilities were? Most people would take my word for what I thought of a facility more than they would take of the marketing department. Now think about in your schools and how that is also true in your schools. If one of the students has not been served well, doesn't have a good impression of the lunch program, how many other people do you think that can affect? I mentioned a little bit earlier too about staff, especially in the elementary schools. The staff can ruin your program, just even indirectly. So again, please pay attention to these moments of truth. And back to our 7 seconds of contact, a customer forms these 11 impressions. They decide if it's clean, attractive, credible, knowledgeable. Are you responsive? Are you friendly? Are you helpful? Are you understanding, courteous, confident, professional? So these are the 11 impressions that most people decide in 7 seconds. The average company loses half of its customers every 5 years and doesn't even know it's lost them, much less the reasons why. And this is a book from Exceptional Customer Service. Now, I know in the case of schools, we lose them because they move to a different school too. But look at your counts from month to month. Look at most of the schools often start out high, and often I see that the count seems to decrease. Why? Why are you losing these customers? Why is your count where it is? What can you do to improve it? And it often boils down to what can we do to improve our service to our students and to our staff and teachers. No matter which way you look at it, you're in the business of making your customers happy. Include customer service stories as part of the agenda at every single staff meeting. And market it. As I said, use the newsletters, share stories, get the good news of school lunch out there. And how do the people in your organization view the customers? Again, how do your cooks think about the teachers and the custodians and the students? What matters most? Sense people's needs before they ask. Be intuitive. The best servers can guess in advance. They know in advance what somebody might want or need, and they're ready for that. Help each other out. Teamwork. People can tell when people are working together and when there's dissension among the staff. So really encourage teamwork. Be a leader there. Be a leader with the customer service. Acknowledge people's feelings. Have an empathy toward that customer. One of the things, too, that when I was a food service director, I said that, when I was back with that pots and pans and you can take it out on that. But the acknowledge people's feelings, this is the lunchtime this is the main point, the high point of a lot of people's days. In a lot of elementary schools, the students have the same teachers. If it's a teacher that they get along with, then their experience is great. But if they're having a tough time maybe with that teacher or with school, this could be the high point of their day. And the more you can make them feel wanted there, the more you're going to do to help improve their lives. Put yourself in the mind, have empathy. They feel what those kids are feeling, what it feels to be 8 years old or 10 years old, and how scary it sometimes is to try something new. Again, have empathy with your students and the staff, all your customers. Respect the dignity and privacy of everyone. Have courtesy. Even if they're 8 years old, they deserve courtesy. And do a wonderful job communicating. Just don't say no. Explain why. I love this, too. The customer's perception is always our reality. In the customer's mind, as I said before, you are the organization. What the customer perceives is what is real to them. Perceived service quality is the difference between what a customer expects and what he or she actually gets. It is what a person says or doesn't say that creates this impression. And I don't know if you get the comic strip Zits, But I love this one. And Zitz is sitting in the boat with his dad, and he goes, "It feels weird to sit here contemplating murder." And the dad goes, "Fishing is not murder. It's all how you perceive it. It's all how you look at things." And that's what I want you to take away from this seminar. It's how you perceive customer service. Some misconceptions: if you don't get many complaints, you must be doing fine. If you're looking at perceptions, focusing on complaints is not very meaningful. People complain about the things that can be objectively verified. They often don't complain about things, more feelings, and because that's hard to put into words. Where if somebody actually says something, that's one thing. But if somebody's rolling their eyes and looking at them like they're an idiot, you usually won't hear about that because it's hard to objectively verify that. The leading correlation with overall satisfaction is staff attitude. And the thing about staff attitude is we usually only hear about it when somebody is outright rude. And those of you that are in charge of doing employee evaluations, you know how hard it is to document and verify an attitude. I mean, how do you document an eye roll or a smirk? But you know that's what's happening. So if you just focus on what people complain about, you may be missing some of the issues that might be going on in your operation. Only 4 out of 10 dissatisfied customers will actually complain to you. But where do you think the rest of, what do you think of those other 6? Who do they complain to? Yes, they complain to everybody else. I know a good example of that was where I live. There was a new restaurant that opened up. And some of our friends went to this restaurant, and when we asked them how it was, they were like, "Oh, the service was horrible. I know it was a new restaurant, but it took them forever. And the waitress was chomping gum," and on and on. Now the next time we were ready to go out to dinner, do you think we picked that restaurant, even though that was on the list of places we wanted to try? Nope. Based on their perception, we made our choice because there's so many other restaurants and there's so many other good restaurants. And if they didn't like it, and they thought the service was bad, then you know what? We probably think the service was bad too, so we just didn't go there. Long story short, too, that restaurant is no longer in business. And most customers do not believe that complaining will do any good. So when we're talking about perception, is that a duck or a rabbit? How many think it's a duck? How many think it's a rabbit? How many think it's both? You're right. But again, it just depends on how we look at things. Perception is the truth, but it's just our version of the truth. Keep this in mind. In fact, I'm doing a presentation for CSI tomorrow where we're even going to discuss this even further. But remember, perception is the truth, but it's just your version of the truth. And a way to even think of that is I am giving the same webinar to everybody that's on this line. Everybody is seeing the same slides. You're hearing my voice. I'm giving exactly the same presentation to everyone. But when I get the evaluations back, do you think I'm going to get the same evaluation from everybody? Probably not. Which one's true? In everyone's mind, their evaluation is the truth. But again, perception is the truth. It's just your version of the truth. Our beliefs can move us forward in life or they can hold us back. And that's a quote from Oprah, and it's very true on customer service. What we feel about our customers can move us forward or it can hold us back. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this E plus R equals O. And I first heard about it. I don't know if anybody has read Jack Canfield. He's that chicken soup guy. But that's when I first heard of E plus R equals O. And it's from a Dr. Robert Resnick, and he's a psychotherapist in LA. But it means the event plus the response equals the outcome. Most people blame the event for the lack of results, the outcome. Most people are into the blame game. They blame the weather. They blame the education system. They blame the government. They blame the administration in Washington. They blame a political party. They blame their wife or their husband. They blame their kids. They blame the boss. They blame a lack of support. On and on and on and on. Most people are very big on blaming everybody and everything for the outcome. But what E plus R equals O says is that it isn't the outside circumstances that stop us. It happens to be you, because so many people are facing the same political situations or the same so many school lunches. We all have a lot of the same issues. Why do some succeed and some others don't? It's not the outside circumstances that stop you. It's you. You need to work on changing your event until you get the outcome you want. You need to change your thinking, your response, your communications, and your mental picture in order to get the outcome you want. So many of us keep doing the same thing, but what happens when you do the same thing? Yep, you're going to get the same response. So you need to work on figuring out what you want and what you need to change. You only have control of 3 things in your life: the thoughts you think, the images you visualize, and the actions you take or your behavior. You can't solve a problem you don't have. And by that is if it's always, it's the administrator. They won't let me do that. We can't do breakfast because the kids will make a mess. We can't do this because of da-da-da-da. If you don't take ownership of it and it's always somebody else's reason why you can't do something, you'll never be able to solve it. You just need to take ownership. I'm sure you're familiar with the definition of insanity: continuing the same behavior and expecting a different result. And that's a quote from Albert Einstein. But it's also a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're an alcoholic and you keep on drinking, your life's not going to get any better. If you keep doing the same thing, and you're going to get the same result. So now's the time to start thinking about how can you make some changes? How can you make some tweaks? What can you do to improve your customer service with your customers? Another point on customer service is to look at the competition. Who's your competition? And when we think of schools, we have several different competitors, but I like this definition. Disney views the competition as anyone our customers compare us to. So, who do you think you're compared to? Your lunch program is compared to. When you're looking at this comparison, why do you choose to fly on certain airlines? Basically, the airlines are all about the same. You pay the money, they get you there. Most people don't choose an airline based on the best safety records because almost all the airlines are safe. Most airlines have about that same safety record. Who do your customers compare you to? You are being compared to fast food chains and food courts, pizza chains, sit-down restaurants, home cooking from home, fine dining, restaurants. When I've done surveys and I ask favorite restaurants, I'm often amazed. I'm expecting that most of the people would put, your McDonald's, every once in a while Applebee's, Chili's, but I was surprised how many very much fine dining restaurants were also being compared to. So basically, your school lunch program is compared to all different types of restaurants, just not to other schools. Students and staff expect to have good service, don't want to spend their lunchtime waiting in line. They want the foods they like, and they have a mental picture of how they should be treated. How are you measuring up to their expectations? Our competition is anyone that the students and staff compare us to. Your competition is anyone your customer compares you to in any interaction. You are not being judged by others in your same position, but by the standards being set by the nicest people giving service anywhere. And how are you comparing? And some final words. What is your attitude when you go into work every day? Are you happy to be there? Are you excited to have another day to serve your customers? Are you contributing to the positive side or the negative side? What did you do to invest your time towards a good purpose? Remember, when you deliver great customer service, the person feeling the best is you. And I'd like to leave you with this autobiography in 5 short chapters. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes me forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. In Chapter 5, I walk down another street. So I want to take this time to thank you, too, for joining me for this seminar on customer service. And I hope I got you thinking of customer service in a couple different ways and how your attitude is such an important part of customer service. So thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, you can type it in that chat, or you could send it, Tim, would this work, to CSI, and you can send it on me?
Maybe we could open up the mic now to enable people that are here to ask any questions they have, if that's okay. You go up to the phone and click on to remove the mute, and people can certainly ask their questions now. And
they can type them in, too.
Right, but it may be just as easy to have them ask.
Okay.
Okay, everybody is back online. I want to, first of all, thank Kim for a great presentation, and I hope it was very thought-provoking for everyone who's been in attendance. And if so, and if you have any questions you would like to ask her, maybe you could just say who you are and then ask your question. Is there somebody who would like to start? No one at this time.
Well, if not, you can always email, send me an email. I'd be glad to answer it. My email is kim@gettothepoint.com, and it's GETOTHEPOINT.com. But I'd love to hear from you, so feel free. And
also,
Tim, thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure, our pleasure. I want to add that this session has been recorded, and again at 6 p.m. today, we will post the complete recording in the Professional Development Center, so it can be available on demand to view in case you missed the beginning or or other parts that you want to revisit to learn more from this very informative presentation. With that, thank you all for joining us today, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. I'm still here, Kim.
I'm still here too. Let's see. Still showing 11 people are here?
Well, at one point I was seeing, before you ended, about 16, and now it was as high as...
Karen, are you here?
Karen? Karen is here. Karen?
Are you still on?
So it was as high as 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, is that kind of what... Was I on track? Any suggestions for the next two?
Well, why don't I call you, and we'll go offline,
okay,
in case anyone else is still here. But I think you did a great job. Let me just call you right back. I think we're ready to end this.
I'm still here.
Jason, okay?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
So, okay. All right, thanks. I think you did a great job.
I just, as I said, since I'm doing two more, I can still make any changes or...
Okay.
No, I think it was great. We had somebody who had a technical problem that they weren't able to call in, and so I was able to help them via chat. And that's another thing that you mentioned, but people are free to use the chat feature as well to chime in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good.
Oh, good.
it was fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So I'm going to hang up, and Kim, I'll give you a call here in the next minute or so, and we can talk some more. How's that?
Sounds good. Do you want to call me at 330-666-2088?
Hold on. Say that again.
330.
Yep. Yep.
2088.
2088.
Yeah, 2088. Yeah, 330-666-2088.
Okay.
I kept hearing beep, so I wasn't sure if you got that.
Okay. So I will disconnect this, and I got to stop the recording. That's the first thing I need to do.
Oh. Oh, well. If anybody wants to call me, that's my number.